So I tried this gummy edible. You heard of them? They're legal there.
CBDs.
Yeah, tried that. Yeah, let me tell you, had a real bad trip.
Really?
And
Oh,
I learned everything you shouldn't. I basically did everything you shouldn't do. And,
stuck up your ass.
well, no, look, this trip was insane. Yeah, I was convinced. Like, I got high as fuck from this one. It's one little gum thing like that big.
You got paranoid.
I had it. Yeah, extreme paranoia. Right, I was convinced like the world was not real. Like I was convinced we was like in a simulation. Like I had that thought, that there was like a higher power, but not in like God, but they were just controlling everything we're doing. That's what life was.
That's your mother.
And fuck's sake. But I mean convinced to the point where I was like, oh, this is scary. Because I kept thinking anything that happened, I was like, they're doing that. And when I was like talking to Beth and I was telling her like, I'm getting bare paranoid, and I tried to explain this to her. And then whenever she said something to calm down or tried saying something to make me calm down or say something to like say some logical thing to me to make me realize this like, oh, because she's like, oh, I've had friends that have done this before and it's like can happen. All I would think was, holy fuck, the people that control it are just getting her to say exactly what I want to hear. It's just trying to make me...
Clever people, aren't they?
That's all I was thinking. I was like, and I even looked it up like while I was high. I was looking it up like, oh, what can happen with a bad high? And everything I read, I was like, I was convinced. I was like, oh my God, they're just literally pulling it here as I scroll down to convince me that, to try and make me think they're not running the world and like this, trying to make me get away from the thought that's a simulation. I was like, why else would it say? And all it's doing is explain to me why it's a fucking bad high. But I'm convinced in my head, they're literally making this come up on my screen now to convince me that it's just a bad high. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was just getting worse and worse. And this went on for like 6 hours, you know? It's not a short thing. And I was fucking freaking out. And then this thing started happening while I was laying there. And it was like time was skipping. It's like I'd be talking to Beth, and then literally it would be like, it was like a when you cut, like in a podcast something, when you make a cut, it was like that. And then all of a sudden, like Beth's doing something else or talking about something else, her tone's like completely different, like and shit like that was happening, and it was just skipping, and it kept happening. So I like didn't know what the fuck was going on because I couldn't stay in the conversation or what was going on because like it would like just skip. It like to me, time would just skip, and then something else was happening in front of me. And I was like, what the fuck? And like, I was fucking mad. And that was happening for like multiple times as well. And I was trying to explain that to her as well. And I was fucking freaking out. She was completely fine. She must be like, what the fuck? And then I got to the point, I was convinced. I was like, oh, holy fuck. Because all I was trying to do is trying to think logically. But you can't because you're convinced from the high. And I was like...
But it's probably logical in that perception. But
but it's
someone else is
real.
affecting that.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, holy fuck. And then I started thinking, maybe I'm just like insane now. Like, I started thinking, maybe that like...
Maybe I'll turn into my dad.
He's trying to logically think on edible.
But also, I was so convinced, I thought that's what it is. But then I was like, but that sounds insane. But because I know I believe it, I was like, maybe something went wrong when I took that and it fucked my brain up. And now I'm convinced and I'm just insane.
It's going to be like that forever.
And I thought, fuck, I'm going to be like this forever. Or I was thinking, maybe I'm just like now I'm probably some insane asylum right now and I think I'm still in this room. I started thinking that. And then when it got dangerous, I was like, maybe I'm fucking like dead. And like my last memory is where I died, which was here. So I'm just stuck in here for the rest of my life.
It's that purgatory.
Yeah. And that's what happened when because when I laid down, I started thinking about that. And then I was literally just thinking like, oh, I need to kill myself. Like, and it'll wake me up.
What the fuck?
I started thinking, like I was having a thoughts and it was slowly convincing. So I kept trying to like fucking shake it off out of my head and it kept coming back. Like, oh, you need to fucking just like, I was thinking about getting a knife, just fucking.
What the fuck?
Because I was and that's how convinced I was.
Did you do it? Did you kill
No,
yourself?
I never even got up.
You didn't do it?
I was almost.
That's a lesson learned, isn't it?
But I never even went over.
Hope it's a lesson learned.
But the head was but the thought of it was going into my head like constantly, like trying to convince it. And I was like, I was thinking, oh fuck, I could just be dead, like laying in the hospital. And this is just like, my mind's just stuck here. I was having all these different things. But I was bare convinced like the world was being controlled. And that was scaring the shit out of me. It sounds cool, yeah, when we talk about this simulation. When you're actually convinced it's a simulation and shit's happening just to convince you, the scariest shit. It's the most lonely thing. You don't think anything's real. You don't think all the people around you.
I feel like my marriage.
But yeah, I just thought like no one could convince me, because if she was trying to comfort me and convince me, I was like, yeah, they're making this person do that.
Yeah.
So it's just me, and I was fucking hella
Does that
paranoid.
put you off forever?
Yeah.
Good.
But that's like not the dangerous thing.
People do.
That's edible.
People do end up topping themselves, jumping off buildings and things, thinking they can.
That's crazy, because the first time...
It's mucking around with the neurons and stuff in the brain and the message things, isn't it? Message things, you know what I mean?
But they say, and when I looked back at the thing again, like bad high, and it's like, what you shouldn't do is have like alcohol and stuff when you do it, which I had. Yep. There was like, if you're not used to doing it, like weed or anything, which I'm not used to, like they're like, that dosage is really high, especially for someone that hasn't done it. So it's high chance you can have a bad high. And it's just like everything it says you shouldn't do is like, oh, I did that, no wonder it's bad. But you can just get a bad high even if you're used to it.
Yeah. You're meant to do a lot of research before you take an edible. And you're meant to know what it is.
Crazy. But at least you've done it, you survived, and that's put you off for life.
What a story, though.
Jesus Christ.
Years ago.
Mad, isn't it? I was just 6 hours.
6 hours is a long
The time skip
time.
was crazy. Like, it literally was actually happening, but they say you hallucinate, so that's probably what's happening. But literally, it looked like shit was.
You felt completely out of control, weren't you? You was completely out of control. You had no control at all.
No. Nothing. It was like I was an insane person. That's what I thought for like a second as well. I was like, oh, I'm one of these crazy.
That's mad.
But now stories hit different like that when you hear like people. There was a story that came out like not long ago. There's like, I don't know what this woman. It wasn't like weed, but it was something. She was on something, and it made her think. I think the story was she was convinced the world was gonna end and like be destroyed, and everyone would die if she didn't.
Do one day.
If she didn't gouge her eyes out, so she fucking gouged her eyes out like on the street.
Oh my god!
She was convinced that she had to do that to save the world.
God.
And that hits different when you fucking went through
I had that one. I took one puff once, and I was convinced if I didn't drink 10 pints of beer, the world was going to end. And a kebab, a large kebab, loads of chili sauce. So I fucking drank 10 pints of beer. I had a large kebab, loads of chili sauce in that. Yeah, the world didn't end.
Didn't
if you ask,
didn't you get really bad paranoia?
Yeah, when it was years ago.
As well,
I was
the first time.
17, 18. I might have been 18. I can't remember how old. I was really young, 10 or 18. I was that age, around there. And I was at this house party all night, drinking booze.
Yeah.
Probably didn't drink a lot because I was only young, but it was enough. I was drinking all night. And then I went to the pub the next morning, still pissed, and had a few beers with my mates, and this geezer come in with someone, and then so he's got this, wacky-backy stuff, whatever you call it, probably skunk. And I took one puff, just one drag on it in the toilets, and I was fucking floating. I'd never done fucking drugs or anything, and I was fucking floating, and I felt so fucking paranoid and out of control. And I was fucking like, felt like everyone was looking at me and watching me. And my mates going, what's up? And these birds going, yeah, what's up? You know, what did they say to you? What did they say to you? And blah, blah. And I was just fucking so hard. And it was fucking, I was there like that. They got me a taxi, sent me home. I don't know how I got a taxi home, but never touched it ever since.
So you both had bad paranoia the first time.
We both done the same thing. We wasn't used to it. And we both were tanked up from the night before. We've both been drinking.
Both mixing it with alcohol.
Never done it before. And I've never done it since. And I might have done a little bit of that. What's that stuff called? A little bit kind of that stuff they sprinkle on.
But they
got a few puffs of that.
Hundreds and thousands.
Something like that.
But they even say if you've never done weed before, do like little puffs and see how it affects you mentally, because you might not even be the person that should be doing
put me off for
that
life.
type.
Yeah.
Imagine how much I fucking did. All that. That's loads. They say because when you buy it, they will only sell you one by itself. They go, the guys like do not have two because it'll fuck. Like you could die.
Just nibble on the ear.
Fuck you off. So I went from nothing to that. It was mad. I was actually sitting on the edge of the bed, like.
What? He didn't even ask you if you've done it before, like.
Nah, it's Cavos. He wants money.
All I had was one puff.
But you talk to everyone else, they're like, oh, all that shit in there is like, oh, it's fake shit.
Stuff.
Like even people we talked after, it's like, yeah. But I think there's talk about more about the smoke stuff. But then it's fucking crazy. Oh, yeah. I remember. I think Beth filmed some of it because she had one as well, and she was having like a good high, and she was just finding it first, yeah. But she started filming it like it's funny. And then it got, because I was so convinced, she just stopped it. She stopped playing it, and she was like, what the fuck's going on?
Really?